Good afternoon and welcome to All About Animals. I am Sherry Graditor, and this is the last show that we're going to be filming before Christmas. So it becomes my Christmas show. And it's hard to make a decision as to what's right for Christmas because, very frankly, a lot of adoptions happen over the Christmas holidays, and the shelters love them because lots of dogs and lots of cats go home. Lots of cages become available for new animals coming in, and there are always new animals coming in. And it's a booming time for animal adoptions. But just like it's a booming time for animal adoptions, they need to be done sensibly. The worst time to bring home a dog or a cat is Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, Christmas morning. Terrible. Because if you're bringing a pet home to children, the kids have lots of toys. People coming in and out of the house, and even mature couples who don't have children, or younger couples or individuals. Christmas is busy. There's a lot of traffic in and out of the house. You bring an animal in that's been in a cage, that's been in a shelter, oftentimes that's lost an owner and is somewhat bewildered by all of the changes in its life. And then strangers keep coming in and strangers keep going out, and the animal just doesn't know with whom he is supposed to be bonding. Additionally, there are lots of dangers in a house over Christmas. There are dishes of candy out, and so many of the candies, many of the chocolates, for example, have an enzyme in them that is toxic. And if a dog eats enough chocolate or a cat eats enough chocolate, it will kill him. And so you can't have candy dishes out. Lots of the plants that we put out or we decorate the house with, poinsettia and others, are either dangerous or deadly to dogs and cats. Christmas trees are a particular danger because cats have been known to chow on tinsel and get it impacted in the gut. Lots of Christmas tree ornaments are glass, can be knocked down, can be broken, and animals can get cut or ingest pieces of broken glass. Lots of dangers. There just are. On the other hand, it's a terrific time to give a friend to someone who needs a friend. Now, first off, let me start by saying an animal is not a pet that you go and adopt to give to someone else because you don't know what their taste is and you don't know if they really want a pet. So if it's a friend, or if it's a boyfriend, girlfriend, or if it's the neighbor, whoever it is, you be sure that they want an animal, number one. Number two, that they'll be comfortable with your choice. And if not, you invite them to come with you. Come on, we'll go take a look at the dogs and the cats at the shelter. And you'll find something that loves you, because I know I can't walk through a shelter any time of the year and not find half a dozen animals that would like to come home with me. With kids, generally what I have advised over the years is give the kid a certificate. Either give the kid an early present a week or so before Christmas, before the Christmas chaos, or give the kid a card that says, Santa promised you the perfect dog, the perfect pup, the perfect cat, the perfect kitten. When things quiet down, as soon as we've celebrated Christmas, that animal will come to you in the house. That way, the animals in the shelter still have their chance to go home and find a forever home. Kids or friends know that there's something coming, or an animal that comes in early has a chance to acclimatize itself a little bit before Christmas chaos hits. So, having said that, there are lots and lots of animals in shelters. The majority of those animals, despite what you hear, are wonderful, loving animals that have not been dumped because they were mean or not housebreakable or unruly, or some of them, the puppies often come in because they've been chewing. I've heard of animals coming in because they vomited on the oriental rug. Just like children, you bring a dog or a cat in the house, that's bound to happen somewhere down the road. That something that you value is going to get teethed on, puked on, peed on, or pooped on. Because that's what animals do until they know that this is their special place. If it's puppy or kitten, until they know exactly what they're supposed to be doing. And even with an adult dog that's been living in a cage for a week or 2 weeks or a month, or God forbid 6 months or a year, they have to be retrained. And they have to know that your space has become their space, and they treat it like special space. So the animals that are there are wonderful, and you'll see lots of them that are absolutely delightful just today. But for every animal that I show you, every cat, every dog, there are another 10 or 20 or 30 that you don't see. And lots of those are wonderful and loving too. So it's a great place to shop for a pet. It's a great place to find that special loving animal that you can live with for the rest of your life. Every animal that I've gotten in the last 35 years has been a rescue. And they've ranged from 137-pound Bouvier de Flandre, who was brutally beaten and cruelly treated before I got her, to a 110-pound Wolfhound mix, to a 65-pound Portuguese water dog who lives with me today. And every one of them has taken a period of time to get used to me and my way. And I got to tell you something, I'm a softie, so I've had to get used to their way too. But every one of them has been a delightful and wonderful member of my family once we were able to form that family bond. There are wonderful Christmas stories about adoptions, and if I could, I'd like to tell you a couple of them just to let you know how fabulous some of these animals are for unknown reasons. A couple came in looking to adopt, and they were looking for 3 criteria. They wanted cream, tan, or white. They wanted a puppy under 6 months old, and they wanted a male. And I said, go look at the dogs in the kennel and see if there's anything that you'd like to adopt. And they came out and they were interested in a 2.5-year-old black lab mix female. And I said, wait a minute, not cream, tan, or white, not a male, and not a puppy. And the wife said, this dog speaks to me and I don't know why, but she belongs with us. Months later, or maybe it was more like a year later, the couple had gone on a fishing, camping trip in the Colorado Rockies with the dog. Husband would fish, the wife went out and took photographs. And one day he came back to the campsite and she wasn't there. And he figured she must have found something great to photograph. She took the dog with her. And he waited a while and she didn't come back. And he waited a while more and she still didn't come back. And he started getting very frightened. And he got the park rangers out looking for her and they couldn't find her. And at some point, the dog came back into the campsite alone and kept barking and running and barking and running and barking and running until they figured out that they were to follow the dog. And so they did. The woman had fallen over a cliff and was on a narrow ledge and was unconscious. Had she continued down that cliff, she would not have survived. The dog saved the woman's life without a doubt. And this was beautiful karma. This woman knew when she looked at that dog that there was a reason that that dog should come to her. The dog did. It was beautiful. Had some young ladies who came in, they were college students, and they were looking for a protective German Shepherd. We had a lovely dog that needed a home, and he was a very sweet shepherd, and they adopted him and had him for a couple weeks and called and said they were returning him because he just wasn't aggressive, he wasn't protective, he loved everybody, and he was delightful. And we said, if you're not happy with the animal, bring him back. And then several days later, they called and they said they were keeping the dog. Oh, really? Why are you keeping the dog? Seems they came home from somewhere that they had been out, and they walked in the kitchen, and on the floor in the kitchen was a bunch of blood. The kitchen door had been broken open, and between the door and the screen door, there was a finger. Someone had tried to enter that house when they weren't home, and he's too sweet and he's good with everybody and he's a lovely tempered dog, German Shepherd, lopped off a finger, which the police were able to use to find the owner of the finger, who had gone to the hospital, and he was arrested for attempted burglary. I didn't think he managed to burgle, but that was how he was found. Probably the most beautiful story, and it's a Christmas story, and it's where I'm going to end my tales, was the story of the little poodle who came in to save a pet. She was 21 years old, and she became my special needs dog. Her name was Fifi. She was the ugliest thing you've ever seen in your entire life because she had almost no hair. She had tuft here, she had tuft there, she had no teeth. So when you leaned her forward, when you leaned her sideways, because there was no cage to keep the teeth, the tongue in her mouth, so it just hung out whichever way she was hanging. She was blind. Her owner had died, no one was willing to take her. And she was my special needs dog that week. And I said, this is Fifi, and she's blind. She can hear. She hears the big dogs barking, and she's terrified because she can't see if anybody's approaching her. She's virtually naked. They keep her in blankets, but she shakes with cold. She's grieving for a mistress that will never return, and a soft voice and a loving hand that she will never see again, and she doesn't understand. She's 21. No one will adopt this little old dog. She's cold and terrified and alone in a cage. Christmas is coming. She will spend Christmas cold and alone and terrified, and cold and alone and terrified, Fifi will die. Christmas Eve morning, a gentleman walked into the shelter with children who had seen the show, who said that they couldn't let Fifi spend Christmas alone and that they were foregoing their Christmas presents so they could have money to adopt her, and they took her home. And about 5 or 6 months later, the shelter got a letter thanking the shelter for allowing his children to learn about loving and loss, and thanking the shelter for allowing him to learn just how special his children really were. Now that's the ultimate beauty of Christmas story, with the most unadoptable dog in the world. But there are lots of animals in the shelter, dogs and cats, who are needy for one thing and one thing only. They want stability and they want love. And they have big hearts full of love that they need to share. So this is the season of giving, and this is the season of sharing. And this is the season where, if you can, find the time, find a way, avoid the Christmas chaos time, but get one of those animals and take it home. It will enrich your life, your family's life, and you will do a beautiful thing to enrich a beautiful animal's soul. I want to wish you all a happy, Merry Christmas and a wonderful, happy Hanukkah, and we will see you again probably into the new year.